Right, well here we are in my little backyard orchard. We've got a few fruits here. This is a Moor Park apricot, producing a few fruits there. I've then got a couple of cherries. One's a Stella, the other's a Bing. I don't know which is which because I lost the label, but they both have a very different colour. One's a very red colour, the other's more purple. So when it produces some, hopefully this year, I'll be able to label them correctly. This is a Fantasia nectarine, which has got a bit of peach leaf curl on it. But anyway, we'll just let it grow for a couple of years before we start treating that with anything. This is a tree that was in when we moved in. It's an almond, quite regularly produces a crop. This is one of my plum trees. This is a green gauge plum, and this is a Coe's golden drop. And this was a hazel that was in when we first got here. I've actually got 10 other hazels that I'm going to be putting in next year. And this is another plum, another green gauge. Then we have my sole cider, specifically cider apple tree, which is a Yarlington Mill. Next to that we've got Worcester pearmain, and then an Upton pine, and then we've got a Kids orange red. This actually produced a crop of fruit last year. Very, very richly flavoured apple. Very nice. St Edmund's pippin, and then we've got Ribston pippin, and another Ribston pippin. And here, a very late flowering one. This is Bess Paul. As you can see, we're in the middle of October, and it's only just starting to bud, whereas all the others are well and truly in flower. This is an early apple, a Devonshire Quarrendon, and a Court of Wick. And this is a French apple. It's Renette du Canada. Come back round here, and we have one of my favourite apples, Sturma pippin, and another Sturma pippin, and then Cox's orange pippin. And here's an apple I thought it had died, so I cut back all the dead wood. But it's actually thrown up some branches above the graft, and this is actually a Lord Lambourne. So yeah, thought it was going to die, but it didn't. And here's one of the oldest apples known. It's Court Pendu Plat, introduced to England by the Romans. And then we have an Egremont russet and a Bramley's seedling. This particular row is on Malling 111 rootstock. All the other apple trees are on Malling 26. So this is a semi-dwarfing tree, whereas these are a very dwarfing tree on Malling 26. And over here, this is a Laxton's Epicure. Sorry, it's not. It's a Laxton's Fortune. And another St Edmund's Pippin or St Edmund's Russet. And here, this did fail. This was a Sturma Pippin, and it died. I cut off the affected bits, but the rootstock has survived, and it has thrown up these shoots. So I'm going to let this grow on for another year or two, and then have an attempt at grafting it back to probably a Sturma, but we'll see. And this is a Sturma Pippin. And here we have beauty of Bath. Here's a very famous apple. This is Blenheim Orange. And here, from where I come from, or nearly where I come from, first came to public attention in 1813. This is Cornish aromatic. When I say came to public attention, it's been grown in Cornwall for hundreds of years, it's believed, but it was first brought to attention in 1813 to the Royal Horticultural Society. Said to have a very good flavour. I don't know, I've never tasted it. Here's another Ribston Pippin, and here's another Egremont Russet. And if we go over here, I've put in a few more just this weekend while I'm, or this week rather, while I'm down. So here we have a Blenheim Orange, and here we have a Lord Lambourne, and I've also put in a few vegetables while it's still just a sprig basically, so a few vegetables will grow. And then over here we have another St Edmund's Pippin, and then down here, because Kids Orange Red is so good, I bought another two. So we've put one in there and one in here. And then over here, these are trees that were already in when we moved into the house. This is an apricot. I don't know what variety, but I believe it's Moor Park apricot. We had a crop of this the first year, and probably the best tasting apricots I've ever had. Over here, this is a big plum tree. I believe it's Coe's Golden Drop. There's actually a label there, which is now grown into the trunk, or the trunk has grown around it rather. Yeah, so I think it's Coe's Golden Drop. Here's a nectarine or a peach, which clearly they were planning on pulling out, the previous owners. I'll deal with that sometime. And here we have, that's some sort of pear tree there. I don't know what type, it's never produced any pears, but it is a pear tree. This, I believe, is Cox's Orange Pippin. I don't know because there's no label on it. It was in before we got here, but I've tasted this on for a couple of years now, and it has to be Cox's Orange Pippin. This, I don't know what it is, but when I watched it grow, it looks exactly like Granny Smith. Now, I don't particularly like Granny Smith, or at least that was until I tasted the apples off of this thing. It looks like Granny Smith. It has to be Granny Smith. Now, I've heard on the internet, people have said that homegrown Granny Smiths, they actually develop, if you let them fully ripen on the tree, they do develop a very nice flavour. And I tasted this, and it did have a very nice flavour. But I'm pretty sure it's a Granny Smith. It doesn't taste anything like any Granny Smith I've ever had. Anyway, I'm going to try it again this year. This must have only just been put in just before we moved in. It used to have a label. It's Lady in the Snow. There's another plum, and that is Santa Rosa. Some sort of pear tree, don't know which. An apple tree, again, I don't know which. I tasted this, I wasn't particularly impressed. So this will be an experiment for me sometime in the future to graft over to something else. Don't really like that. And this one again is another apple which I wasn't overly impressed with, and I don't know what it is. So what these two apples are, I don't know. They're going to be grafted over to something else. And then another plum tree. And that's it. That's my fruit orchard, or rather backyard orchard.